This is my alma mater, where I learned the art of software development. What if this wasn't the world where I lived? What if instead I lived in this world? The guy that you see riding over there on that dragon? Sadly, that's not me. Instead, I'm this person who needs to learn how to be a smith. The way for me to do that is to join a crafts guild. But the Smiths Guild is currently at war with the Glassblowers Guild. So instead of just getting to learn the smithing craft in peace, as an apprentice of the Smiths Guild, I am expected to go find some glassblowers and ruin their whole day. And so, my experience of being a smith starts by going to war for the honor of my guild. What I'm going to discuss in today's video is how to create a crafts guild, what kind of positions you need, and what crafts guild can give you in terms of plot tension and activities. I'm going to start, as always, with the historical context and then delve into the fantastical. If this kind of world-building content interests you, please do consider smashing that subscribe button. I also have a Discord server where you can connect with me and other world builders, link in the description down below. And if you want to support me in making more of these videos, you can check out my Ko-fi page or buy my book. More about that at the end of the video. Okay, let's get cracking. On the whiteboard right now is the manifesto of the Hatters Guild of London. And if you take a look at it, you will see that it was all about the control of pricing and manufacturing. What guilds are really about is monopolistic control of the market of the crafts good that they manufacture. So when you're constructing your guild, don't think first about, oh, it's about quality and innovation. No. Guilds are about monopoly. I specifically quote, "Also, that no one shall make or sell any manner of hats within the city if he is not free and from the same city. If anyone is caught violating this rule, he must give up the hats that he made or offered for sale." You can't just come into London and sell your hats that you learned to make in Paris. No. You have to register with the London Hatters Guild. How did the guild maintain that kind of control? Well, they had their lawful wardens who watched the guild, and they would also presumably have had some bully boys so that if somebody disobeyed them, they could go break up his shop. When you're constructing your guild, think about the enforcement of territory. How do they enforce territory? And who is in charge of making those enforcements? In order to maintain a monopolistic practice, you have to some extent, control the quality. If you don't control the quality at all, what will happen is the people you're selling to will eventually protest and won't buy from you. So, the guild did have to maintain some quality, and you can see that in their discussions and clauses about quality. But how did they train people in this quality? Guilds generally enacted an apprentice, journeyman, master system. Apprentices would have to pay an apprentice fee and would then be taught the guild's techniques. Journeymen have the right to have their goods sold and the profits from those goods come in. Masters have completed their masterpieces and they're allowed to open new shops or maybe travel to other cities and create new chapters of the guild. They're also normally part of the guild council who votes on guild regulations. These are guidelines for creating your guild, but that's generally kind of how the system works. Apprentices paid for the privilege of being taught. Journeymen get to have their goods sold, but don't get much say in the running of the guild and can't open their own shop. And masters get to do whatever they want within the confines of the guild. And then above those are the officers, like there would be the 6 most lawful wardens who actually run the guild day to day. For example, somebody to look after the bully boys, and somebody to look after the money. The guild collects fees from apprenticeships. It collects fees from its members. Maybe it takes a tax cut of all of the goods that its members sells. That being the case, the guild gathers in quite a bit of money. What does it do with that money? Maybe it maintains a guild hall that journeymen can use as a workshop. Maybe it uses that to look after orphans of the guild families. Maybe it makes donations to political causes in order for the local lord to stay on side of the guild. But however it gathers its money and however it spends its money, it needs to have somebody in control of the money. It needs to have somebody holding the purse strings. And that would normally necessitate some kind of treasury office in your guild. So we have a treasury office, we have a bully boy office, and then you need some kind of leadership office, an overall leader who speaks for the guild. Okay, so we've got a fairly clear idea of a guild construction, but we don't have many guilds left today. Why is that? It's because guilds stagnate. What happens is, as the guild becomes a more established organization, people grow so invested in the guild because they've spent a lot of money on the guild techniques and on maintaining the guild secrecy and all of those details. Any innovation becomes a threat to them. They see innovation as a threat to their existing investment in the guild, not consciously, but subconsciously. And because of this, the guild becomes more and more conservative, and any new ideas are suppressed. To incorporate a new idea is to lessen the existing ideas into which they have sunk the bulk of their investment. This kind of attitude towards innovation starts spreading to not allowing new families into the guild or making it prohibitively expensive. So your apprentice fee becomes more and more. And this means that the only people in the guild are the families who are already in the guild. So you have to be in the guild to get in the guild. And that starts leading to a very insular echo chamber effect where the guild doesn't get new ideas and it refuses new ideas coming in from the outside. And this leads to stagnation and eventual decline as new ideas will find a new home where they get made. So that is our historical context of guilds. If you've been following this channel, you know that I love my historical context. If you also love your historical context, hit the thumbs up button below to let me know that this is the kind of content you like. And let's move on to the fantastical context. The author that I want to reference here is Anne McCaffrey and her world of Pern. The craft system of Pern is based on the medieval system of guilds loosely. Craft halls are establishments that maintain the Pyrenees' knowledge and skills. This knowledge and skill is distributed by the apprentice, journeyman, master system as I described in the historical context section of this video. The currency of Pern is in fact based around these guilds. Each craft hall has a mark, like a smithing mark or a harper mark, and each mark has different value depending on the prestige and usefulness of that craft's good. So, your currency has got variable values and it's controlled by your guilds, which gives your guilds an enormous amount of economic control. It's one of the more interesting currency systems that I have seen implemented in fantasy to date. Getting back to the guilds, there is also a guild council that governs all the craftspeople of Pern and forms a central part of the Pyrenees government. In one of the books, a glass blower is expelled from his guild because he tries to bring innovation to the guild. His goods are no longer recognized by the guild, and while he can keep blowing glass if he can build his own forge, it is obviously very difficult for him without access to the guild resources. This is a great illustration of using a guild as an antagonistic organization. In Pern, there is also the Harper Guild books, where the Harper Guild is the protagonist organization, and the activities of the guild in trying to renew the Pyrenees' education and society drives the story forward. And finally, in Dolphins of Pern, we get to see how a new guild can potentially be formed. If you're looking for inspiration on how guilds can work together in a complex fashion and how great their control over society can be, the Pyrenees books are a great introduction to this topic. So now we have a very clear idea of guilds in the historical context. We know what kind of positions a guild needs. We know the influence a guild can exert over a government. We know that a guild can even be a government. But how do you use this in your plot? In my world, the guilds and the Rechtshuis work very closely together to control the peasant population. And for this reason, the lords of my world largely leave the guilds alone and don't apply too much taxation. But in The Hidden Blade, we're introduced to a brewing guild war between the Vinters Guild and the Brewers Guild. Hey, pun intended. And this actually threatens the economy of the empire, but it also threatens the social stability of the empire, because guilds are one of the primary means of control. So you can use guilds to create social change if the guild starts coming into conflict with each other, or if they start being unable to maintain control anymore because they have stagnated so far. You can also use guilds as a protagonist organization where you have your point of view characters in a guild that is under attack, and their actions can be driven by a desire to protect the guild. Or you can have the guild as the antagonist organization where you have point of view characters who are getting screwed over by the guild, which is a story we can get behind because it's the little man suffering under the weight of the oppressive big organization. And so those are, to my mind, the ways that you can use a guild. You can use them as a political backdrop. You can have a guild war as a larger societal conflict driving change. You can have the guild as a protagonist organization, or you can have it as an antagonist organization. How have you seen fantasy guilds used? Comment down below, let me know. Also, let me know if you would like me to do a video specifically on magic guilds. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of Just in Time Worlds. If you did, please do hit the thumbs up button. It really does help the channel grow. If you want to support me in making more of these videos, you can buy my book, The Hidden Blade, or you can visit my Ko-fi page where you can buy memberships, give one-off donations, or browse my shop for more. And I will see you soon for another episode of Just in Time Worlds.